What's up, YouTube? So before we get started with this video, on SportCenter, they're going to be talking about how Golden State beat the Clippers 121-104 in the first round of the playoffs. So let's see what they have to say about that.
First of all, I appreciate Kevin Durant and Patrick Beverley both taking each other off the hook, and even a tip of the cap, if you will, to the officials. They get it. Try to keep things under control in this game one. What was your take on what Durant had to say in his actions on the court?
Well, Steve, it's interesting. Just before that soundbite that you guys just played, Kevin Durant talked about appreciating and knowing Beverley for a long time. They go back to Texas versus Arkansas and probably some playgrounds before that too. And he talked about Patrick Beverley being a South Side guy of Chicago, meaning, and he was going to play with that sort of grit and talk a little bit too. And of course, the finals. So there's some anticipation and perhaps a little bit of anxiety. Kevin Durant said, "Hey, wait a minute, I know how to control myself," and that's a quote. So he didn't seem overly concerned about it, but it certainly was one of the storylines coming out of this. And Patrick Beverley is not going to back off. I mean, Doc Rivers has decided to put Patrick Beverley, at least for now, on Kevin Durant, a foot shorter, to be closer to the ground, to prevent dribble penetration and backing him in. And he's not on Steph Curry. That may be an adjustment that Doc Rivers makes. But for now, it sounds like Patrick Beverley and Kevin Durant will tangle again in Game 2 at least.
So for those of you guys that didn't see it, so Patrick Beverley and Kevin Durant kind of got into it a little bit. They were doing a little bit of arguing. Nothing special. So they both got ejected. Personally, I think the referee should let them play a little bit more. It wasn't to the point where the people needed to be ejected. Sure, they were doing jaw jacking, but I don't think they should have been ejected for that. And as far as Kevin Durant being a problem and getting ejected and having the same situation with Draymond Green where they lost the finals because of ejection, I don't see Kevin Durant doing that, but I don't know. Let's keep going.
At the start.
Clippers get one game in this series, Michael?
I think so. I'm one of the few, Steve, who thinks so. But I think so. I don't know whether it's Game 3 seems to be that game.
So I think it depends on how the Clippers want to come out and how they want to handle what happened in Game 1 with ejections. So if they come on out and have an attitude, I think the Golden State Warriors will sweep them. They will smash on them. But if they come on out just normal play and, it's just seems like to be retaliation from Game 1, the Clippers might sneak one in. They might. But I don't know. It depends how they come out, like I said, or maybe Wilbon said, and maybe in Game 3. But so we'll just have to see what happens. So let's keep going.
The first half of this one was close, and then, as Doc Rivers said, the Warriors pulled away, and they were going to pull away anyway because they were playing better, even with 21 turnovers in this game, and some weird officiating. And I'm going to blame the officiating crew straight up for missing a couple of calls in the Clippers that resulted in about an 8-point swing, including free throws missed. The Clippers should have been awarded and technical fouls.
So I don't think that would have played a difference, especially if it's an 8-point swing. So Golden State won 121-104. So 8 points really would not have made a difference. But here's some quick stats. Curry had 38 points. Kevin Durant, 23 points before he got kicked out. Klay Thompson had 12 points. Draymond Green had 17. And Cousins had 9 points. And just for the record, Beverley had 3 points. I know he was guarding a 7-foot Kevin Durant, but I don't know. So we'll have to see what happens in Game 2. It should be pretty good. So I don't know. Let's see what they have to say.
The officials, and then not necessarily Ed Malloy, but the crew lost control late in the first half. You expect better, particularly from this crew. I know you understand this, being a guy who talks about crews and referees and playoff games and even in the NHL. Well, that happened here tonight. The Warriors played better. We're going to win anyway. But the Clippers seem to have the wherewithal maybe to still win. And Steve Kerr, quote Steve Kerr one more time, he said, "Are we going to let up just because we won a game?" Because the Warriors do that. That has been a tendency even in the best of times.
So the Warriors let up off the gas, I think, because it's just too easy for them. If everybody just has an average night for the Warriors, they're most likely going to win, let alone have one or two of their players just go crazy. So I think it's just a little bit too easy for them. That's why they may kind of seem lackadaisical and don't slit the throat from the beginning. But now it's playoff time, so we'll see how they come on out. So let's keep going.
And they sort of let up, foot off the gas, and he doesn't want that happening, which is why you mentioned that early in his post-game comments.
All right, let's dial long distance, if you will. That's a terrible segue. I'm sorry I just did that to you, to what happened in Philadelphia. Thank you, Anderson. The optics are just terrible. The Sixers are down 16 or 18. Amir Johnson's pulling out his cell phone. He's inactive for the game anyway. And then you see Joel Embiid looking at it, and Sixers have already said they'll handle the discipline. There was already a fine involved to Amir Johnson. Again, it wouldn't have been good if they were winning by 15, but it's really bad when they're losing by 15. You have a take.
If we're talking about, and I'm a parent of a young child, we're talking about a sick or ill, injured child, I mean, that's going to be your first responsibility. I don't care what sport you're playing, what it is you're doing. You want to rush to the aid of your child.
So I completely get it. So for those of you guys that didn't see, Amir Johnson had his phone out because obviously he has a sick child, but Joel Embiid was looking at his phone too, like maybe they were playing some type of game or there was something else going on. But what I don't understand is, if it's not an absolute emergency, don't call me. Don't call me for anything, because I'm a professional. I'm at work. There's no need to call me unless it's an emergency. If my kid's coughing, fine. If a kid's, sneezing, whatever, that's nothing to really call me about. They can't wait 2.5 hours, 3 hours for him to get back to see what was going on. And Amir Johnson, he wasn't even active. He wasn't even playing. So I don't understand the whole having the cell phone out. And then it distracted Joel Embiid because he's sitting there looking at his phone too. Like I said, if it's not an emergency to why I have to get up and go to the emergency room, don't call me. If the kid's coughing, sneezing, whatever, that's part of being sick. But if it's not emergency, don't call me. So this shouldn't even been an issue, and I think it'll be taken care of. So I don't know. But let's keep going.
So there's a lot that's come out in the wash here, and I'm 3,000 miles across the country. I'm still wanting to hear the official explanation. And if it was Johnson's child, why does Embiid have the phone? There's a lot we don't know. But the optics, as you said, aren't good. But I want to hear. He deserves the benefit of the doubt with that explanation until that is straightened out.